tip, I wanted to talk a little bit about the item 20. This isn't something in the franchise disclosure document that we talk about a whole lot, but for something for you to know is that in that FDD, item 20 talks about the system growth and the unit growth within a franchise. And I think there's always a story there. So depending on the lifeline or the life span of that franchise, you're going to see usually slow, steady growth, sometimes a peak, but you're also going to see possibly some years, if that franchise has been a franchise for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, you might see some dips. And rather than immediately make that a negative and maybe close the book on that one, use it as an opportunity to talk with the franchise developer and find out what happened in those years. Sometimes it can be a sign of system strength. Sometimes what'll happen is you'll talk to the franchisor and they'll say, yeah, we didn't grow that year on purpose. We didn't do any development that year because we wanted to work with our existing franchisees and make sure that their systems and their processes and their operations were strong. And we also had some franchisees who had signed on the year before. We needed to get them open. We just didn't have the bandwidth or the feeling that bringing on more franchisees until they were stable made sense. That's a wonderful story. So it may look like they grew by 5, they grew by 10, they grew by 15, and then they grew by 15, and then they stayed, and then they didn't add any. And it might be like, uh-oh, is something wrong with that system? When in truth, that system is so strong and so franchisee focused that they really wanted to get that core group of franchisees stood up and strong, and now they're starting to grow again. So just kind of keep in mind that sometimes with the FDD, you have to look a little bit below the surface and ask the right questions and not make assumptions. Remember, when you're getting a franchise, we want you to remember, we want you to look at a franchise and find out the facts. Find out what you need to know to get into the system and not make it an assumption on something that you think you know. I hope that helps.